You guys want to read 30 years of X-Men history in just 6 issues? What's going on, everybody? GemMint here, and this is a book that I've been wanting to read for a while. I knew it was only a few issues, but I thought it would be a great recap to get the X-Men history from, 1962 to 1992. That's exactly what this book does, written and illustrated by comic book cartoonist and fellow content creator Ed Piskor. You can check out his channel, Cartoonist Kayfabe, which is a big hit amongst viewers. We're going to go ahead and jump into this review, and after that, I'll give you my final thoughts and whether or not it gets the GemMint seal of approval. Alright, here's the cover for the Dust Jacket X-Men Grand Design by Ed Piskor. I like how this is kind of like that meme, like the evolution, like yes, yes, yes. No, go back, we messed up. We also do get to see like his rough sketch of that at the end of the book, so that's pretty cool. Great spine, you got that classic Wolverine pinned up against the X, and then here's the back. So this collects, like I said, 6 issues. It was broken down to X-Men Grand Design 1 and 2, then X-Men Grand Design Second Genesis 1 and 2, and X-Men Grand Design Extinction 1 and 2. This also has a reprint of X-Men Issue 1, the first issue, and Giant Size X-Men 1, along with Uncanny X-Men 268, which is that cover with Captain America and Black Widow. I did end up rereading those reprints. It says it was beautifully recolored. Kind of feels like the same recoloring that was in the other omnibus that have those issues, but it was still a fun reread. $100 cover price here. Let's take a look at the inside of the Dust Jacket. Inside basically just has some reviews here and a biography on Ed Piskor. And then the actual hardcover has the X-Men version of the crucifix, if you will. It's got this nice faded look, which we're going to see in the interior pages as well. It's a light book. The paper stock is a little bit different, and it all has this like yellow tinge. I guess it was meant to mimic the newspaper type of paper that it had back in the day. Like this version of Cyclops here. And here's the table of contents. Each issue is broken down into an episode. They feel a little bit oversized. And this is like the artwork you're going to get for the most part. Ed Piskor, self-proclaimed cartoonist. And that's very much what the art style feels like. Sometimes it's a lot smaller figures. It feels almost like a Where's Waldo type of art style. But then he does flex his skills and give us some bigger art, like you could even kind of see right here. Like I said, you have those reprints there. There's some pinups, and then there is a ton of script, which we'll touch on briefly. So here we go, episode 1. And you can see the artwork is good, but I think sometimes, and some of the criticisms I've heard is I guess people aren't really into like the smaller look. X-Men with Stan Lee. Basically, this book is narrated by the Watcher. It's really mostly narration, I would say, and it goes back a little bit prior to the X-Men. You have the Golden Age heroes, Namor, Human Torch, kind of the introduction of Professor X and Magneto, and eventually, leading up to his formation of the X-Men and the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, the evil mutant that Professor X ran into that kind of gave him the idea, like, hey, there's going to be bad mutants out here as well, so we need to put some good ones together. His history with Kane Marco and how he becomes Juggernaut, creation of Cerebro, and him recruiting the first X-Men. You already get Lilandra and the Shi'ar stuff. So it ends up going super fast, like breakneck speed. Like once we get the recruiting stuff out of the way, you're getting like multiple issues of history in just one page. Here we could see, Cyclops as a child. I feel like it really picks up in the next issue here as far as the storytelling goes. But you could see recruiting Iceman here. Back in the day, he had that snowman look. Magneto with his children, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. You have the Angel. I thought it was a great retelling of the X-Men origin. Like I said, you get 30 years of X-Men comics in just 6 issues. And this is where I'm talking about where I say that Where's Waldo type of vibe, just like in the scope and size of the characters. Already you get like David introduced, Professor X's son, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants formation, and then the Phoenix is something that Ed Piskor kind of teases behind the scenes the whole time, that the Phoenix was initially going after Professor X. So we have Magneto on Asteroid M, already kind of teasing that Professor X is suppressing memories of Jean Grey. And then we're getting like the first villains, like we just saw the Blob. Now we have Eunice, the Untouchable Man. Already into the Savage Land with Kazar. So you can see you're going from issue 1 to 10, like super fast. Then what, issue 12s with the Sentinels. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants dressing up like the evil X-Men. Jean Grey leaving the X-Men team, seeing like the events of the coming of Galactus while she's just trying to go to college and meeting new people. You have Mimic here. The Banshee introduced already. The Super Adaptoid, which is like the evil version of Mimic. Here we see the return of Jean Grey and kind of the next generation costumes. Here we have Polaris being introduced. And then we end episode 2 with Professor X getting a vision of Krakoa. The Phoenix stuff is still looming, ending with the Watcher again. And then here we go to episode 3. The Todd McFarlane X-Men Blast from the Past pinup. Love that. I feel like this was really just like a childhood ambition from Ed Piskor. We'll see that in some of the bonus material here. But here's essentially Giant Size X-Men 1 where they first fight Krakoa. And we have the Hellfire Club looming in the background here at first. The death of Jean Grey kind of becoming the Phoenix and recreating the universe. You have the iconic Uncanny X-Men 181 scene. So as you can see, just going through the history, man. This was when the universe gets destroyed with the M'Kron crystal. I remember that one mostly from the animated series. This book serves as a great retelling of like not only the comics, but the animated series as well. And we have Beast with the Avengers, and he has the fur, getting called back to help the X-Men. Then we get the recruiting of more mutants, or at least the attempt with Dazzler here. And then we see Jean Grey acting out of character, kissing this guy in the club. Cyclops is like, what the hell? And this is her being tricked by Mastermind, making her see these visions and trying to recruit her to the Hellfire Club as the Black Queen. Then we have Jean Grey going full Dark Phoenix. We get Gladiator and the Shi'ar Empire stuff here. Jean Grey seemingly sacrificing herself because she's wanted for her war crimes against the 13 planets she destroyed, and she decides to sacrifice herself to get the heat off of the X-Men, although we know that she's really incubating. Goes Arthur Adams pinup, jumping into episode 4. Who's that? The Joe Mad artwork. Looks cool. Colossus. Then we get the introduction of Rogue and how she ends up killing Miss Marvel, stealing her powers, giving her the power of flight and the super strength. And these events that essentially set off a timeline that would be retconned later on. Kitty Pryde, trying to become one of the X-Men, being like a temporary inductee and getting attacked by the aliens while everyone's gone. We get the introduction of the Morlocks and of Forge. The Brood stuff comes through, like I said, breakneck speed. You're getting everything back to back here. When the X-Men actually start transforming into the Brood with a very aliens-inspired storyline. Captain Marvel becomes Binary. Then you have the Morlock stuff with Calypso versus Storm and her besting her, becoming the leader of the Morlocks. Binary whooping up on Rogue for revenge. Frank Miller's Wolverine miniseries tying in here. At this point, Cyclops is now with Madeline Pryor, and she starts to act a little weird. It's already weird that she looks just like Jean Grey. And then we're ending it here with Storm when she lost her powers, and she's kind of just recuperating along with Forge. She's rocking the Mohawk. She's the cover of episode 5 here. And we start off, I like how it's showing the different panels from that era. The Watcher narrating as usual. We have Baby Cable, which was the son of Madeline Pryor and Cyclops. Storm kind of in battle, even though she doesn't have her power, showing that she's still capable. And then we get the introduction of Mr. Sinister. So we're already in the 200s of the Uncanny X-Men issues. What is this? The stuff with the Marauders, with the Mutant Massacre attempt. Introduction of Psylocke here. Baby Cable's been kidnapped. We get introduction of Longshot. You see the team is starting to look more recognizable. Sinister here with Baby Cable. This is Storm and Naze looking for Forge on this astral plane, which seemingly sets off the events of Inferno. But I don't know, he doesn't really dive too deep into Inferno, and it kind of feels like it was introduced here and touched upon a little bit more with the Madeline Pryor stuff a little bit later on here. This is where the X-Men get the decision to remain dead. They sacrifice themselves, or because they sacrifice themselves, they're allowed to come back to Earth, and they choose to come back to Earth with everybody thinking that they're still dead so they can operate without so much heat. And that's when they're in Australia. They're the Outback team. You have Gateway here. Here we have Madeline Pryor figuring out that she's actually just a clone of Mr. Sinister, and Nasrith changes her into the Goblin Queen, so that's kind of like an Inferno thing as well, right? See Mr. Sinister still operating on baby Cable. We get the return of Jean Grey, which is really what set off Madeline Pryor to begin with, and really who could blame her? And this is Cyclops destroying Mr. Sinister, leading into the last issue, episode 6. Again, a nice box artwork here. Again, you have the Watcher setting off the narration. This is Professor X at trial with Magneto. The politics start to show heavy here on like the Mutant Registration Act and all that crazy stuff, leading up to the extinction agenda, which is where this really ends. This iconic cover here recreated, and when Wolverine first meets Jubilee. So what is this? This is like the beginning of the Claremont run, or not the beginning of the, I guess, X-Men Volume 1 Omnibus is what I'm thinking about. We got the more recognizable Psylocke, who's actually kind of hypnotized and working for, is it the Marauders? I think it's the Marauders. Dazzler back in the picture. This is where Psylocke gets kind of back to normal here. Introduction of Gambit. Storm, Aurora becomes that kind of like adolescent. That was also part of, I think, the X-Men allowed to come back to Earth or whatever. Got the new mutants now, Cannonball's in the mix. X-Men on trial. They all choose death over becoming slaves in Genosha. So this is that whole Genosha arc. And then what's cool is like the events of that trial lead to Days of Future Past. So he kind of did Days of Future Past more like timeline in chronological order and not so much issues. And what's cool is like we get the taste of Days of Future Past, but then it goes back to that scene earlier that I was talking about to kind of undo the assassination of, I forget who it even was. It wasn't President Kelly, right? It was one of those other guys. But that's what ended up leading to Days of Future Past. And with them reversing it, it goes on a new timeline. This is still where Cyclops is leaving the team. He becomes the fisherman. That's where he meets Madeline Pryor. And that's where this book ends, man. So they have this kind of paying homage to all the creators who worked on the X-Men for those 30 years. Then we get the reprint of the X-Men issue 1. And I really enjoyed rereading X-Men 1 and Giant Size X-Men 1. It was fun to kind of read it again, you know, see the introduction of the team and the full story on how it was done and not like the sped up version that Ed Piskor did in this book. Then, like I said, you get into Giant Size X-Men. It's so funny rereading this now and seeing how Jonathan Hickman went back here and grabbed Krakoa and made it such a big part of the story now. Although, I mean, Krakoa was there during like Wolverine and the X-Men and stuff. Love seeing the early version of Wolverine. The recruiting of Storm and Nightcrawler was done so well. Storm, badass, off top. Firestar, or Sunfire, I mean, never really became that popular. Didn't really join the team. You get the Colossus introduction, of course. The Thunderbird stuff. And he was kind of very arrogant and angry. Cool first look at the whole team in the mansion. The artwork looks amazing here, man. So it was a treat to reread Giant Size X-Men 1, broken down into 4 chapters. I'm not sure why this one was thrown into the book. I guess it could be because it's kind of showing Wolverine's history when he first meets Captain America before he's part of the X-Men. Amazing artwork here. First of all, Todd McFarlane Wolverine pinup, Jim Lee art here. This story, it's a Madripoor story taking place simultaneously kind of in the 50s. I'm sorry, the 40s and the 90s. I think it's 91 and 1941. You have some great Psylocke stuff here. Amazing Wolverine artwork. Black Widow looks great. I like at the end of this one, Captain America is trying to offer Wolverine like to be his sidekick. And before he gets a chance, Wolverine's like, nah, I work alone. I don't really want a sidekick. And Cap was like, I mean, oh, okay. Like Wolverine was insinuating that Cap would be his sidekick. All right, so then let's go into the bonus material. So this is Ed Piskor as a kid playing X-Men on Nintendo, his old action figure collection, and his mother was an artist, so they would kind of like mimic artwork to practice. So this was her rendition of the Blob, and this was his rendition. He was making X-Men comics back in the day as a kid, making some covers here, and other work that he did. Deadpool, teenage Ed doing a half-done X-Men pinup. This one more with negative space, and then these pieces of fan art, which what it says is it led to the creation of this story. I love this piece of art here that shows them all in the same costume. There's another piece that he did in here that I really liked. but I missed it somehow. I got to go back and find it real quick. I couldn't find it. Anyway, here's the script. Ed doesn't separate words from pictures when writing his comics. So basically, this is the same full thing that we just got, but this is just like the sketch scripted version. So they added that in as a bonus. I didn't bother going ahead and reading it, but it's cool to kind of see the process on how he storyboarded this whole thing. Kind of just sketched it out real quick with the dialogue and then just redid each page. This looks like either inks or sketches of some of the covers that he would have done or some of the variants. Like I said, they have the dust jacket one right here. So pretty cool to see like the idea for it. Him doing a Major X Deadpool cover and then a little biography on Ed. Before I give my final thoughts and whether or not it gets the GemMint seal of approval, a big shout out to the sponsor of this channel, Whatnot. Whatnot is easily the best place to buy and sell your comic books and collectibles. I'm going to be going live with an auction this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, and I have a ton of Omnibus, some single issue variants as well, and a few other surprises. If you use the link in the description and in the pinned comment, you'll actually get a $10 credit towards your first purchase, so use that on my auction on Wednesday. You can actually go ahead and bookmark that as well so that you get a reminder when I go live. All right, guys, there you have it. So, does it get the GemMint seal of approval? Absolutely, it does get the seal. I know the artwork is not everybody's favorite, but I don't really think you're into this book so much for the artwork as you are for a crash course in X-Men history, and that's exactly what it does. Personally, I enjoyed the artwork. It had that more cartoony vibe, had like an animated series vibe, but then it did have great detailed larger pieces as well. Ed Piskor does a great job of cramming all that history in this 6-issue series, breakneck speed, but you feel like you're getting everything. You don't really feel like you're missing out. It just cuts out all the fat and gets to the point. So I dug it. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and stay minty fresh. Peace.